Sword Art Online is one of the weirdest things that I've ever seen and that is considered mainstream. Recently, I got a job doing social media for an anime and manga shop, and while in the interview, a few things came up. Vinesauce in this channel. I prefer dubs versus subs because I like having something on while I work, and I don't know that much about anime. Separate episode, don't worry about it. For all these reasons, I'm very surprised that I got the job that I did. Shout out to my boss who might be watching this, please don't fire me. Because they know that I know nothing about anime, they've been working to introduce me to shows while I worked. First up was this anime called Sword Art Online. I was only able to half pay attention because I was working, but the basic plot goes something like this. A nothing nobody wastes his life playing video games and gets into an MMORPG that uses neuro inputs to put you into the game. He was a beta tester for the game and is pretty experienced in its mechanics. So the official launch date comes and everyone is teleported to the central hub area where the CEO of the company announces that they aren't allowed to leave and they can't stop playing even if they wanted to, so far everything is normal for a Blizzard announcement. But it gets weird when he announces that anyone who unplugs from the game will immediately die and the only way to get out of the game is to beat the final dungeon. And also if you die in the game, you die in real life, which is like that movie that no one cares about but remembers the meme from, so that's all that's important here. People try and unplug and die, and other people are unplugged by their family when they see that they've gone into a coma. So everyone who doesn't die immediately is transferred to a hospital until everyone in the real world can figure out what's happening. Okay, so I already have a few problems with the plot so far. 1. Who thought putting on a helmet that hooks directly into your brain was a good idea? Have you ever heard of a computer virus? 2. Hackers in general. 3. What if someone DDoSes the servers just for the lulz? 4. How do they have a stable enough internet connection to be driven to the hospital? 5. Have you ever tried to use hospital internet? It's fucking awful. You can barely load web pages, let alone an advanced MMORPG that hooks directly into your brain. 6. What about all the people that have no IRL friends who just play video games all day and have no one to transfer them to the hospital? Do they just die of starvation? 7. This entire story assumes that everyone's first reaction to seeing their friend or family member in a coma is to carefully drive them to a hospital using a mobile internet connection as if they somehow understand the ramifications of unplugging them, as only a few hundred of thousands of players die initially. 8. Every single character in the story has a catheter. Yes, that means every single sexy big-titted anime character has a tube going straight up their piss chute. This is normal if you're in a coma, and it won't stop you from jerking it, will it? Number 9, I'm sure this is actually answered at some point, but I don't want to watch trash. What the actual fuck is the CEO's problem? Why would you even do this in the first place? Can you imagine if Gabe Newell popped into everyone's Vive and announced, Gabe in here, if you don't beat every single level of Job Sim, you can't quit. There's no burrito, and if you try and quit, I'll fucking kill you. Jobbot has a gun now. Deal with it. 10. Has anyone in the real world thought, it's really weird that everyone playing this game has gone to a coma at the exact same time, and if we unplug them, they die. Maybe we should ask the CEO about that. 11. This game just came out of beta, so there might be a few glitches or balance issues, though, to be fair, if you're the type of the CEO who does this, you probably don't care about quality control. Anyway, the players decide to group up except for a few people who just go around killing people because otherwise there would be no actual plot progression. This is where our main character, Loner McNo personality, shines as all his hard work wasting his life has finally paid off. It turns out that because he was in the beta, he knows everything about the game, which makes him god at it. Finally, being a beta worked out for him. People hate him for being a beta tester and don't trust him because the knowledge he has of the game could be used to kill them in the same way it was literally revealed to them when he was saving their lives, risking his own. For this reason, he is an outcast, but also revered as a folk hero because whatever. I used to play a lot of MMOs, specifically I had an Escar monk on EverQuest and used to play WoWmo on Guild Wars. In Guild Wars, I even was a beta tester back when not every game had a year-long beta. Let me tell you, no one treated me differently because I was a beta tester. When I told them, which I didn't because I'm not a fucking prick. It didn't give me that much of an advantage, and I suppose if your life is aligned, it would matter a little bit more, but let's be real, all MMOs are basically the same when it comes down to it. Not to mention that everyone's gonna catch up to you eventually as far as knowledge of the game. Pro tip, if you use any of the following terms in your anime is shit. Lolicon, or lolly, any variant really, it doesn't matter. Tsundere, otaku. Not using these terms doesn't necessarily mean your show isn't shit. After all, this show doesn't seem to use these terms as far as I know, but other indicators that your anime might be shit are things like boob pockets, and boobs that fly around like they're filled with moth larvae like a Mexican jumping bean. That sentence is actually kind of horrifying now that I've said it out loud. Also, if your anime happens to be JoJo, it's also shit. As an aside, I want to point out exactly how forgettable the main character is. More specifically, that I've only shown you one picture of him and every other picture has been some equally boring character from some other show. I understand that anime works on tropes, perhaps more so than any other media. I just went over some of the most overt types, but typically the main character has something that makes them stand apart, something that makes you know that when you just see a silhouette of them, you know who they are, as opposed to any other character from any other show. First thing the main character does is team up with a girl that he says reminds him of his sister, which is a weird thing to say for several reasons. First off, he kind of hits on her, which just fills that incest quota of highbrow in anime like this, and also, she looks nothing like his sister, so I can't tell if that's just bad script writing and they forgot what he said, or if that's just a really awkward pickup line. Shout out to the worst pickup line ever. You look like my sister. Wanna bang? Anyway, they form a party, and she is completely inexperienced as far as MMOs goes, because of course she is. She's a girl. That's the kind of logic we're running with. They walk into a peaceful field, where she's immediately accosted by two separate tentacle beasts in less than a minute, because that's what counts as fan service, I guess. Anyway, finally, after he dispatches both of them by himself, because she's useless, they make it across a huge field, and they get stopped by some bandits, and you guessed it, a woman with huge anime titties. This fight literally doesn't matter because he's too high level to take damage, but they still try and murder him, because they're fucked up like that. Actual people would die for the sake of money in a game where you don't need to have money because the entire entire point is to get to the end, but if you just teamed up with people, you could make it to the end. What the fuck? I have to tell you that after this episode, I really couldn't be bothered to watch more. The general rule of thumb is that you want to bring people into the world you've created. As a consumer, you should give it about 2 or 3 chapters or episodes to get into full swing. But I believe that this has fully gotten to that point, and nothing it is showing is something that I care about. Fuck this anime. Still not as bad as JoJo. Honestly, just saying that to piss you guys off at this point. You know it. As always, let me know what I got right, let me know what I got wrong, and tell me, what would you like me to cover in the future? I'm curious to know how close I got.